Hey there, welcome to CNT Collectibles. Hope you are doing well. All right, for content that's drier than a Thanksgiving turkey, I present to you the 2024 Hall of Fame Tracker Series Shortstop Edition here. Take a look at who might be on the path, falling off the path, or whatever, to help us make some decisions in the off-season buying season or something like that straight from the Department of Redundancy Department. So anyways, we've got 26 shortstops in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. The average Fangraphs WAR is just over 63. The highest Fangraphs WAR belongs to Honus Wagner, 138. The most hits, Derek Jeter, 3462. Most home runs, Ernie Banks with 512. We've got a few members of the 3,000 hit club, Jeter, Wagner, Cal Ripken Jr., and Robin Yount, and one member of the 500 home run club, that is Ernie Banks. If you look at the players elected by the Baseball Writers Association, rather, post 1980, the average Fangraphs WAR goes from 63 to 71. Baseball Reference WAR 76. A lot of that is skewed by Cal Ripken Jr., who was well into the 90s. You had some players that were roughly 67, 70, something like that, but they had a lot of hardware to go along with it, or a lot of rings to go along with it. So that's what we'll be looking for out of the players here. Are they tracking along with the average Hall of Famer, but are they putting up some hardware as well? So average hits 2,800, average home runs 280, average silver sluggers for just over 4, and average gold gloves 4. Ernie Banks was those awards weren't around at the time he played, so imagine he would have had some and bumped those averages up a little bit here. Average All-Star games just over or almost 12, just over 12, a lot over 12, almost 13. Just over an MVP, and the average JAWS, that is your best 7 years divided by your total wins above replacement, nearly 62. And so that'll help players that maybe don't have the longevity. Some other players looking at their peak, favoring that just a little bit more here. So on the ballot this year, we have Troy Tulowitzki. In his first year, 37 Fangraphs WAR, 44 Baseball Reference WAR. He's one of the best in the game, but injuries took their toll. 1,300 hits, couple silver sluggers, couple gold gloves. JAWS, again, what a great looking few years, but didn't do it long enough, unfortunately, probably to make the Hall. So nice to see him on the ballot. Maybe he'll get a little bit of love, but probably doesn't hang around too long. And Alex Rodriguez, probably don't need to get into that too deeply. One of the greatest of all time, but he had some help, perhaps. So shortstop wins above replacement by age. They peak around age 23 and start to decline, like everybody else, around that 34, 35. And so what we're going to look at is players that are tracking along that historical average of 63 wins above replacement, being mindful that in the recent past, 70's kind of been your number. Alan Trammell got in through the Veterans Committee, and he had 70 wins above replacement in a slew of all-star games. And so we want to see them at least above the line, the trajectory that we have marked out here. And so we're looking for them to get to kind of 60 wins above replacement by the time they're 35. There's a little bit of junk time after that. They can put up another 4 or 5 wins to put them ahead of the game here. So that is our marker here. So some players that are looking pretty good here. Elly Cruz, I mean, looks really, really good. He got a 5-6 win season, something like that. And so he's 22 years old. He needs to average 4.74. The average Hall of Famer at age 22 has 4.74 wins, and he needs to average just under 4 to get to that 60 by 35. In addition to a bunch of hardware, so he's well on the track. A little young. We want to take these guys a little bit more seriously. When they get into double-digit wins or something like that, and we could easily put him on his own page, but I imagine he'll be there next year. Ezekiel Tovar, Mason Wynn, same age, same pace, and then all kind of looking at that reasonable trajectory where you have to average 4.5 wins. Again, shortstops average during their peak, close to 5, and so we don't want to have to have them average over 5. When that's kind of their high water level here. So somewhere in that 4.5 range is reasonable. Anthony Volpe, Zach Neto, and C.J. Abrams, all 23 years old. The average Hall of Famer at that age has 8.31 wins to their name, and so to get to that 60 by 35, they have to average kind of that 4.5. So all these guys, Elly De La Cruz has already proven he can do it. The rest of these guys, so let's see some big seasons here, and we can start to take them a little bit more seriously. So a few players that are of note that are on the outside looking in just a little bit. Again, they have to average more than the peak years of the average Hall of Famer. And so this is an uphill climb for them. Outside looking in just a little bit here. So Willie Adames, O'Neill Cruz, Jeremy Pena, Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson. There's a number of players like this, but just some examples of players that, I'm not saying don't collect them or anything like that. Just be mindful of what you pay. So if Adames or Pena, have some really, really big seasons offensively, just be aware that their track is a little bit more uphill unless they're able to put up some monster MVP level seasons. All right, get into some individual names here. Bo Bichette, who was solidly on that trajectory of the 63 wins of your average Hall of Famer, but this year was a nothing year. It was a negative year, as a matter of fact. So Fangraphs WAR 16, Baseball Reference WAR 17. To get to that 60 wins by age 35, he needs to average just under 5. He's not out of the game by any stretch, but something's got to change here. So again, injuries, change of scenery, whatever it takes. He's going to have to start putting up some all-star level seasons again in a hurry to maintain that trajectory here. So a couple of all-star games. We'd like to see some more hardware. His jaws kind of irrelevant because he doesn't really have the 7 seasons where you can start to calculate that peak. Trey Turner's been around for a little while. 31 years old, 41 Fangraphs WAR, 36 Baseball Reference WAR. So he needs to average about 4.73 wins on an annual basis to get to that 60 wins by age 35, and then hopefully finish around that 65 wins. And that's kind of our minimum for consideration here. 1,300 hits. If he can add to that total, again, the average Hall of Famer is around 2,800, but again, 2,500 is probably a relatively decent number if you do some things very, very well, like get a bunch of all-star games. He's got a few of them here, so I'd like to keep that going. 122 weighted runs created. So again, terrific bat. He's a speedy guy that doesn't age very well. So we'll see how this goes. His jaw's 33. The average Hall of Famer has 55 at the end of their career here. So at an age where he's got some years he can replace in his top 7, but he'll have to age gracefully here. So we'll see if he can do that. But again, tracking fairly well. But we do want to see something a little bit more above the line if he's going to be a little bit light in the hardware department here. Corey Seager, this is kind of your generational type talent, but not generational type health, unfortunately. So when he plays, it's pretty amazing stuff, but that hasn't happened at times. So 30 years old, Fangraphs WAR 37, Baseball Reference WAR right in there at 36. So we need 4.5 wins on an annual basis, which is nothing hard for him. If he's on the field, that's a little bit harder for him. 1,100 hits, 136 weighted runs created. So again, all-star level bat. No question about it. Rookie of the Year, 5 All-Star games, 3 Silver Sluggers, and a couple of top 5 MVPs. His jaws, again, he's going to be able to replace some of those injury seasons as he ages with some more monster seasons. But again, how well does he age here? Let's just be patient and keep a close eye on it, because he could make some hay if he all of a sudden finds health at age 30 to 35. So he can make a pretty good run at this. Depending on that. So Gunnar Henderson off to a ridiculous start here. 23 years old, 13 Fangraphs WAR, 16 Baseball Reference WAR. Needs to average under 4 wins on an annual basis, which, again, as you're entering your peak, is not a big deal if you are a Hall of Famer. 350 hits, 139 weighted runs created. So he's obviously a special talent. Top 5 MVP, All-Star game, and a Silver Slugger. Jaws, again, doesn't matter at this age here. So above the line, this is what you're looking for. So a lot could happen. And you look at the number of these other players that came out like a shot, like a Corey Seager. Health got in the way, and so there's a long way to go here. Can he keep this up for the next decade? That's the big question here. But if he does, then he certainly justifies the prices that he's commanding right now. But if he goes off the rails a little bit, well, that's the risk here. Bobby Witt Jr., same thing. Incredible season here. 24 years old, 18 Fangraphs WAR, a little bit lighter in the Baseball Reference WAR department here. So 3 to maybe 4 wins on an annual basis to get to this 60 by 35, 500 hits, 128 weighted runs created. Top 5 MVP, All-Star game, Gold Glove, Silver Slugger, batting title. Again, can he do this for the next decade? Then he is a generational talent and a no-doubter. So that's really only the only question about some of these top guys here. So again, Jaws doesn't really matter for him until he actually puts up his 7 years here. So a couple of the guys that have been around for a little while, health still a concern. Carlos Correa, 38 wins above replacement. Baseball Reference likes him a little bit more, so 3.65 wins on an annual basis to get to that 60 by 35. He played half a season this year, well, a little more than half a season. He was injured, but put up a 4+ win season. So he's certainly capable of monster seasons while only playing part of it. But He's getting to and he's been up forever. I mean, he started producing right away. Just 29 years old, kind of crazy. Think about how long he's been around, and gosh, seems like he's a lot older, but he's really not. He's kind of in the middle of his peak here. So health is the concern. Like with a lot of these guys, 1,100 hits, 127 weighted runs created, top 5 MVP, Rookie of the Year, 3 All-Star games, and a Gold Glove. And so we'll have to add the hardware, but he's above the line, so he should get consideration. Now, whether that's the baseball writers or the Veterans Committee, who knows? But some hardware would help that. But he's gonna make his case if he's able to stay relatively healthy over the next 5-6 years. And then we'll wrap it up with Mr. Smile. This is kind of your no doubter for the shortstop position here. 30 years old, 54 Fangraphs WAR, 49 Baseball Reference WAR. Just needs to be on the field for a few games a year, basically. He's going to have to add to the hits, another 1,000 or something like that, which again, if he plays till 37, 38, which most Hall of Famers do, he should be able to accomplish that, 23, 24, 2,500 hits, something like that. But a couple top 5 MVPs, 4 All-Star games, 2 Gold Gloves seems light. He's a terrific defender, but there it is. But I think people will remember how good his glove is. For Silver Sluggers and in the Platinum Glove here. So his jaws, now that he's been around for a while, he's able to start to track those, put up a good 7 peak years and juice this number up. So a couple more of those will get him close to that jaws number. But again, generational type talent. He's got some hardware to go along with it. And what this really comes down to is start comparing them to their peers. If someone hasn't gotten in for a while, and you look at who's the best of breed in a certain generation, then this is kind of your guy. And then in another 10 years, then you look at the Witts and the Hendersons, and that's another way to kind of get in there. But kind of your no-brainer at this level. So at this stage of the game, that could happen. Who knows? But anyways, there it is for you. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll get back to you next week with start of the outfielders and wrap this thing up here. So take care, and thanks for watching.